Hey guys, welcome to episode 7 of the Spigot plugin development series. It's me, CodedRed, and today's episode I'm going to go over Vault, as well as I'm going to add some things to our Kit GUI plugin that we did in the last episode. I'm going to add in particle effects, and it's pretty much going to look like this. It's a little preview. Whenever we do the kit and we get our item, and whenever we use our item, we get this pretty cool effect going around us. I can see I have the effect going on in my other account over here. And then whenever we use a different item, the effect goes away. That's what we'll be adding to Vault, to our Kit GUI. And then we'll also be adding in Vault, so whenever someone buys this item, money gets taken out of their account. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, the first thing you want to do is go into your Google and type in Vault Spigot. Find Vault. I went ahead and did that already. And once you're in the Vault site, I'm going to leave it all in the description below, of course. Once you're in here, we're going to need to copy a few things. Well, the first thing you need to do is download it. Once you have it downloaded, scroll down to the bottom. And we'll go down to where you see Setup Economy. Go ahead and copy that. And then go back into our code. Before we can paste this in, actually we can go ahead and paste it in. Right under the on disable, go ahead and paste it in. And at the top, we're going to add in Economy Eco. I should add in this one. No, it's fine. Economy Eco. And then go ahead and right click on the project. Go to Properties. And we're going to go over to the Java build path right here. And we're going to add external jar. And this is where you add in the downloaded version of Vault. I already have it downloaded, so I'm going to go ahead and open it and apply and close. Once it's in, I'm going to do Control-Shift-O and import everything. And we're going to set this equal to null. I'm going to change these to eco. I just do this so it's easier for me to use it later in the Kit Java class. So what I did was I copied this from the website. I went up here and created an economy eco equals null. The next thing we're going to do is inside our onEnable, we're going to say if exclamation point set up economy. So what this is saying is if the economy is not set up, for tutorial sakes, we're just going to do bucket shutdown. And what bucket shutdown does, it closes your whole server. You probably shouldn't do this if you're posting this resource to Spigot. Probably just shut down the plugin itself. But for tutorial sakes, we're just going to do that. So now we have a Vault inside our plugin completely. We can use it however we want. And to use it, just for example, you're just going to type in eco. If you're in the main class, type in eco dot, and these are all different things you can do. The things that we're going to be using is the withdraw one, withdraw player, and then we're going to pass in a player and the amount we want it to withdraw. Next thing we want to do before we can use it, we're going to go into our plugin.yml, and I already added in, but fix it real quick. We're going to add in this depend right here, and we're going to depend the plugin Vault. So for this plugin to run, you're going to need Vault in your server. Once that is added to your plugin.yml, go right into our kit, and we're going to go ahead and use Vault. So in the last video, I didn't finish the constructor, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish it real quick. We'll put static main plugin at the top, and I'm going to set plugin equal to main. We're going to scroll all down to our on click. And right before we give the item to the player, we're going to go ahead and take the money out of their account. So what we're going to have to do is first check if they have the money. So if plugin.eco get balance of our player is less than $100,000. Is that 100,000? Yeah. $100,000, And we'll go ahead and return. And we're actually going to send a message too. We'll do player.sendMessage. Chat color red. We'll say you cannot afford this. So what this is doing is it's getting the player balance. So say if our balance is equal to $1, obviously $1 is less than 100,000. So just go ahead and say they can't afford this. And I'm getting this $100,000 from our previous code where we said that in the lore that click to buy $100,000. So if their balance is greater than 100,000, we can go ahead and give them the item and we'll take the money out of their account. To do that, we'll do plugin. If I can type today, plugin.eco.withdraw player. We'll pass in the player and then we'll say 100,000. Let's go ahead and take 100,000 out of their account, and then I'll give the item, and then we'll use all the different code that we used last time. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys, see how it works. Go ahead and export it. Reload my server. Let's test it out. So I'm gonna issue /kit. I'm going to click on this and I'll say, oh, gotta fix that. So inside our on click, we did a return here. Before we can do the return, we're going to add in, we're going to add in this above the return. Go ahead and export it again. Now let's try again. Type in /kit and go ahead and say you cannot afford this. So if I give myself money, give myself, what is that, $1 million. Now I try to do the command. You'll see it gave me it, and then it also took out 100,000 from my account. Pretty cool. The next thing we're going to add is the particle effect that I showed you in the beginning of the video. Now this is a little complicated. I'm going to do another video completely on particles to explain it more in depth. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to create another method in here for us. So I'm going to zoom in real quick. And at the top, right after our constructor, I'm going to add in a few things. So I'm going to create 2 hash maps and then an integer. And I don't think I used a hash map before in my tutorials. I will go in more depth later. But basically, a hash map. Oh, I'm going to finish typing this down and I'll explain. Goes new hash map. I'm going to import that. So this is what a basic hash map looks like. A simple way to explain it is this hash map's going to store a string, and it's going to store a boolean for that string. And then the hash map is like a config, sort of, to where it's going to remove it, although, after a restart. So this is like a good way to save information in your plugin that it's okay if it deletes after a restart. That makes sense. I will do another video more explaining it. I just don't really want to go into it right now. But I'm going to create 2 hash maps, and we'll create one called part, and we'll create another one called ID. And then for the ID one, we're to store an integer, and we're to store a string. So I'm going to change this boolean to an integer. All right. So now we have 2 hash maps. One that's going to store a string and a boolean, and then one that's going to store a string and an integer. Right on these 2 hash maps, I'm going to create an int, and we'll call it task ID. Awesome. Scroll all the way down to the bottom right under on click, and we're going to create another one called on use. So at event handler, public void, and we'll call it on use, and the we're to pass the event is called player interact event. Player interact event, and we're call it event. Go ahead and import the player interact event. All right. Now this might get a little advanced. The particle that we are creating is pretty advanced. It's widely seen on Mineplex. And like I said, I'm going to do another video on more particles, but for this one, I just really like this effect. So the first thing we're going to do is create a player. So player P will equal event.getPlayer. Under that, we're going to check what the item the player is using. So to do this, we're going to do if, and I'm going to do an if. I'm going to do a and, so keep it if, and then we'll do another parentheses. Inside the second parentheses, we're going to do p.get inventory .get item in main hand. Now what this main hand does, it returns the item that is in their right hand, because in I forget what version, like 1.9 and above, they added in a left hand where you can hold like a shield or something. So what this does, it gets the item in the right hand. And we're going to do .get type. We're going to see if it equals material.diamond axe. Then outside that set of parentheses, we're going to do and two and symbols. I'm going to go down a line to make it easier to see. And inside here, we're going to do another parentheses, and we're going to do p.get inventory .get item in main hand .get item meta .has lore. And if you don't know what this two and symbols does, it says if this is true and this is true, go ahead and do whatever is inside here. That's what the and does. So now that we have this if statement done, we'll go ahead and do a few more things. The first thing we want to do is see if they are in our hash map. So if part.get p.getName, go out of that one, go to parentheses and type in equals null. Go ahead and do part.put p.getName. Oh, jeez. And we're going to say false. I'm going to add another if statement that I'll explain in a second. p.getName, go that equals true. Okay. So what these two if statements does is the first one, it goes into our hash map, which is called part, and it gets the name. And what this is doing is basically a null check. So if in our hash map their name is not in our hash map, it'll go ahead and put their name in our hash map, and it'll set it to false. So right now, at this very point, at this point in our code, our hash map's gonna look something like this. If my name's CMax, false. That's what our hash map's gonna look like at that point. It's gonna look like the player name is set equal to false. And then this is just another check for later. If the hash map has our name and it's equal to true, just go ahead and kick them out. I'll show you why we do that later. Next thing we're going to do is if the hash map .get p.getName Go ahead to that parentheses equals false. Go ahead and do this. So what is false and true? So in our hash map, the way I set it up is if it's equal to false, then we're going to go ahead and give them the trail effect, the particle effect. If it's equal to true, that means they already have the particle effect, and we're not going to give them another particle effect because they already have it. So if it's equal to false, that means they do not have a particle effect. So I'll put that in a comment. Does not have effect. So they don't have a particle effect, so we're going to give them a particle effect. To do this, I'm going to create a task ID. I'm going to set it equal to bucket.getScheduler .schedule synced repeated task right here. For right now, I'm going to get rid of everything inside there. So you're going to do bucket.getScheduler.schedule synced repeated task. Inside these parentheses, we're to type in plugin, comma, new, runnable. And then we're going to do curly brace. Awesome. And it's going to be a little red for a little bit where you finish the stuff that's inside of it. But it's what it's going to look like. Task ID equals bucket.scheduler.schedule sync repeated tasks, and then type in plugin new runnable. And the reason why we're going to do a task ID instead of a normal just bucket runnable is because we want to remove this particle effect when we click on another block. So now inside this curly brace, we're going to type in double A equals 0. Next one we're type in is public void run. Oh, and I forgot at the bottom, before we do anything else, type in comma 0, comma 1. And what this does is it does a particle effect every second, and there's no delay. All right. Inside this run, it's going to get pretty complicated because our trail is very complicated. It's going to be involving cosines and sines to create it. I'm just going to type it up really fast, and I'll go over it in a second. So the first thing we're going to do is a plus or equals math.pi divided by 16. Next, we'll create a location. The location is going to be equal to p.getLocation. After that, we'll create another location. Go ahead and import location first. Go to another location, and we'll call it first. And real quick, go ahead and import. Oh, make sure you capitalize location. Go ahead and import that. It's going to be the bucket location. So our location first is going to be equal to loc.clone.add. We'll do math.cosine a, comma, math.sine. Oh. Not a sine. Math.sine of a. We'll do +1. And then another math.sine of a. Go ahead and copy this. And we're going to name this second. And I'm going to change this up a little bit. Cosine, we'll do cosine inside the A, actually, I'm going to do cosine plus math dot pi. And then same thing for this one, plus math dot pi. All right. What this does is this first one creates our first set of like trail effects where it goes like this, and the second one does the opposite effect. So them together, they create that cool spiral effect that we have on our player. It's a lot of math involved in creating these locations. Like I said, it's pretty advanced trail. I'm not really gonna go into what cosine and sine does. You should probably know that those all do. But to go ahead and spawn this particle on the player or the world, this is what it's gonna look like. So if you want to spawn the particle just on the player and only that player can see it, it's gonna be p.spawn particle. And I'm not really gonna use this, but like I said, the p.spawn particle will only show, the particle will only show on that player for that player. But we want this particle to show for everyone. So what we're gonna do is p.getWorld.spawn particle. That's how easy it is. And then inside our spawn particle, we're gonna do particle dot. And then if you do particle dot, you can see all the different particles you can do. In the beginning of the video, I did flame, but we'll change it up. We'll do heart. So particle dot heart, and then we'll type in first 0 0 0 0 0. We'll copy that. We'll do the same thing, but change this to second. All right. Looking back at this, I forgot to add a few things. So before we do the a plus or equals math.pi, we're gonna type in if. Basically, what we're doing is we're creating the ID. So if the ID dot get p dot get name equals null, we'll go ahead and just set that ID to p.getName. We'll set the ID equal to task ID. And then another thing I forgot to add in was right after this comment, actually. Right after the comment, we're going to do part.put p.getName. We'll set it equal to true. So what it does, if their name isn't in the hash map, it'll set it equal to false, meaning they do not have a particle effect going on. And if it equals to false, we'll go ahead and set it to true, because we're about to go ahead and start the particle effect. This runnable is going to create the particle effect. It's going to also add the task ID, which is what this equal to the ID hash map, so we know if what player has what task ID. And then there's all this math right here with cosines and sines creating our pretty cool effect of our flames I showed you before. And then we're just spawning the particle. And before we can do this, go up to this if statement, and I'm click on this curly brace and just show me where the curly brace ends. I'm going to go down to where it ends, and I'm going to add in another if statement. I'm actually going to copy this if statement up here and put it down here. And I'm also going to say if part.get p.getName equals true. We're going to go ahead and take off their particle from them. So we do this when they're clicking on another object, not our axe. So this if statement says if they're clicking on a diamond axe that has lore, go ahead and spawn a particle effect. If they're not clicking on that, go ahead and take away a particle effect. So we're going to take away their particle effect. We're going to do bucket.getScheduler.cancelTask of ID.get p.getName. And this is going to remove it's going to cancel the task of the task ID. So in our ID hash map, we put in, for example, it's going to look like the name of the player equals the task ID. I don't know really what a task ID looks like, but it'll be a bunch of numbers. And then right under this, we're going to do id.remove p.getName. And that's actually all we need to do. We can get rid of that other argument. So then right after we cancel the task, we're going to remove their ID from the hash map. And then we're also going to set the other hash map to false. Set the value to false. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and export this and see how it works on the server. All right. So now when we click on our axe, we should have a pretty cool particle effect happen. Oh, got an error. Let's see what's going on. Put. Okay. Alright, so I take back what I said before. We're actually going to add in an else statement. We actually need an else for this. So I'm adding an else statement, and then I'm going to copy what we have in here. I'm just going to press tab to make it look nicer. Now that it's in there, we can export it. Again, reload the server, and let's try again. So when I click on the axe, you get this pretty cool particle effect. It follows me. And when I click on some other block, it goes away. Pretty awesome. Now, of course, there's a lot of things you can do with particles, and I will show you in a later video. This was a pretty advanced particle, I do have to say. I'm sorry that I did have a few errors. Just coding with you guys. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe. I'm just going to show you guys how it works again. So when I do /kit, go ahead and give me the item, and it took out money from my account. And of course, you can add a pretty cool message in there, like withdrawing 100,000. And thank you guys again. See you guys in the next video.